Do you ever feel like your content is really hard and heavy and difficult to put out into the world? Well, I too have recently felt like this. So, this episode is all about the changes that I'm making in 2026 to ensure an easier, lighter year. Welcome to the Powerful Content Podcast, your go to source for content creation, strategy, and business inspiration. I'm your host, Mel Daniels, content strategist, coach, and speaker, empowering women across the globe to grow their business with powerful content that connects, nurtures, and converts. So, if you're ready to create standout content that gets you noticed and remembered, or build an aligned audience who love you and are ready to buy from you, you're in the right place. I believe that content has the power to connect us all. It's up to you how you use it. Listen in for genuine and insightful chats with guests, as well as practical tools and strategies from me. It's so lovely to have you here. Let's dive into the show. I acknowledge the Wongal people of the Eora Nation as the traditional custodians of the country that I am recording from today. I recognise their continuing connection to the land and waters. I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all First Nation people listening today. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to episode 199 of the Powerful Content Podcast. Oh my goodness, so close to that. Episode 200. This is the first episode for 2026. I hope that you've been enjoying the Best of 2025 series. But you know what? We're making a little shift of gears because today's episode is different. We are marking the end of an era and welcoming in a new one. Next week, I'm going to be changing the name of this podcast and updating the artwork. So I thought that I'd give you a bit of background to the upcoming changes because I know that a lot of you are probably feeling exactly the same way about content at the moment, especially this new year rhetoric of, being a new you and being bigger and better. Now, I think over the years that this podcast has definitely changed along with me as a person. The time and energy I have now and how I want to guide people in a world that is so fast paced, so consumeristic, and starting to feel more disconnected has really changed as well. So I felt like it was really time to reflect this change in a few different ways. I want to, before talking about what's coming, I want to show my gratitude to what the podcast has been. So, the Powerful Content Podcast started almost 4 years ago. Oh my goodness. It doesn't seem like I've been podcasting for that long. And I started it almost as a mini dare from a beautiful coach that I had at the time. I have learnt in the many years that I've been on this planet that when people challenge me to do something or think that I might not be able to achieve something, I go all in, 100% effort, and I want to actually prove them wrong. Not that this coach didn't think that I couldn't do it. It was just almost like, oh, have you thought about this? This would be really great for you, Mel. So I feel like I've learnt a lot, and I mean a lot, along the way. And I am so grateful for the opportunities that have come my way as a result of this, for the people I have met, I have spoken to, I've connected with. I am so grateful for that. And so the changes that are happening are almost in honor of that gratitude. I think, like Taylor Swift, I've definitely moved through different eras that have really reflected the different seasons of my life. When I first started, I look back at my first 50 episodes really fondly and think of that as the newbie era where I was, not sure what I was doing, but getting in there and having a go anyway. And I look back on that time almost like with a proud mum feeling, the fact that I actually did it and what I achieved with it. And then came the thought leadership era where I really started to spread my wings. And in the next kind of 50 episodes or so, start to talk more about the ideas behind the message rather than the doing of content and content strategy. Then came, I guess, the confidence era, where the next 50 episodes, I really started to find my feet and seek to spread my message and my ideas by being a guest on other people's podcasts. And then the last year, the last 50 episodes, I think have really been a realignment era, learning to juggle other passions and other areas of my life that needed to be fed and needed to be nurtured. And then I'm hoping that I'll be able to look back at this in a year's time and call this perhaps the evolution era, where I am extremely comfortable with who I am as a person and what I have to offer to the world and how I do that, the systems that I put around it and the ways that I show up for you, my beautiful audience. So this podcast has really held so many different versions of me. And like you with your content, if you look back on your content, it holds so many versions of you. And do you know what? I'm really super grateful, deeply grateful for all of those versions. And I am really appreciative of the fact that I've had the opportunity to share my thoughts with you through this medium. So, why the change then? If I've enjoyed the journey and I have enjoyed showing up and recording a podcast episode, what has changed? And honestly, the podcast began to feel heavier than I really wanted to. And when something starts to feel heavy, there's usually a reason why. Not that, it felt wrong or bad in any way, just heavier and harder than it really should be. And I think that this finally landed with me just recently in a real discomfort, because I felt as though I was teaching ease to you, but pushing through myself. And that's not what I want you to do. So why was I doing that myself? We all do this. We all do this in different areas of our lives, not just with content or with our business, but there are areas in our life where we push through. I really want to note the difference here between pushing through hard and pushing through challenging. So, pushing through hard and heavy means that we are really going against the flow. We're going against our energy. We're going against what's truly good for us. When we think about things that are challenging and pushing through things that are challenging, that's more about personal growth. It's about doing hard things, but not in a way that feels heavy, not in a way that really makes you feel like you're drained, like you are doing something that is not intuitively right for you and your business. So there's a real difference there. I just want to highlight that. But I think that the disconnect is usually a signal, and 100% it was for me. So what am I doing about this? Well, I felt like things had to change. The way that I create my podcast episodes, I am a scripter. I love a good script. So talking off the cuff like this, like I am doing today, is a little bit uncomfortable for me. But once again, it's the challenging thing, and I'm going to push through the challenging thing. So that's one thing. I am going to script less and turn up more with just ease and the things that are coming out of my brain, which could be a little bit scary, but we'll see. I'm also changing up the look of the podcast. So when I first embarked on this journey of changing things, of making things feel lighter and easier, I simply thought it was going to be a change to my artwork. And I had no intention of actually changing the name of the podcast. And it wasn't until the beautiful Chantel King from Chantel King & Co., who did all of the amazing artwork that I'm going to be sharing with you in the next week. She asked me a few deep questions, she is very good at doing. And it led me to making the change to the name of the podcast as well. I felt that the existing name, the Powerful Content Podcast, held a lot in terms of memories. It meant a lot to me because it's how I first showed up in this podcasting world, but it really no longer fully reflected the conversations that I wanted to have, all the ideas that I want to share with you. So this change of name that's coming up isn't anything to do with a marketing decision or huge rebrand. It is solely 100% driven by my values and my intuition that a lightness needed to be added to the podcast. And I think that the change of name brings that as well. I also wanted these episodes to be real, honest, about connection, but mostly about ditching perfection and ditching performance when it comes to content creation. And I think that the new name, and hopefully you will agree next week, really captures that. And I really can't wait to share it with you. I really want to implore that this change isn't about starting over. This isn't about new and fresh. I'm still keeping the episode numbers rolling. So next week I am celebrating with episode 200. It's really about coming back to what matters most. And that's about being more myself, which ironically, I always encourage you to do, but I am actually listening to my own advice and going to be more myself. So what can you expect with these episodes? I really want to show that content can be less polished, but still be of value to your audience. I'll be far more present with you, which means less scripting, like I said. Oh my goodness, it's going to be challenging. And as a result, potentially shorter episodes. Still have some amazing guests on the podcast, and I have a few lined up, which I'm really excited about. But this is going to be a space for reflection. It's going to be a space that's really purposeful, just less, I guess, performative. So this really ties back to the ideas that content doesn't need to be perfect in order to be powerful or purposeful. And I really want this space to be still intentional and still 100% supportive. So if you've ever felt like this, if you've ever felt like there is so much pressure to show up in your content in a certain way, perfect and polished, I want this podcast to feel like it's proof that you don't have to do that. So whilst there is a lot of changes happening, there's plenty that is staying the same. So what isn't changing is my values, my commitment to you, to helping you trust yourselves and lean into your intuition and understand that the way that you create content doesn't have to be systematic. It doesn't have to look a certain way, and that you can be more you. I still believe that true human connection is so much more powerful and so much more important over to just creating content for content's sake and contributing to the noise out there. And my genuine care for who you are as a person and how content can help you in your goals hasn't changed. So I guess in hindsight, the heart of the podcast isn't really changing at all. But something else that's not changing is I will still be including my reflection questions in each episode, as content and business isn't always about the doing, but it's also about the personal growth and personal learning as well. So if you are dragging your feet when it comes to creating content, or it just feels really, really, really difficult at the moment, just maybe take a moment to think about these questions. And these questions have helped me in my journey of rediscovering what this podcast is all about and how I want to actually present myself within the podcast itself. So the first question is, does my content still feel like me? Or am I just continuing this way because I always have? The second question is, where does my content feel light and energizing? And where does it always feel heavy or forced? And that's really going to give you some great insights. And the third question is, what would it look like to let this evolve instead of trying to fix it? So that's it. Short and sweet for this week. I really want to thank you so much for being here, for listening, for growing alongside of me. The new evolution of the Powerful Content Podcast starts next week. While I'm really sad to say goodbye to the name, to what it was, I'm really looking forward to saying hello to the new version of the podcast. So I encourage you to listen in and really connect with how these changes feel for you. Talk soon. Thanks so much for listening. That's it for another week. To get more powerful content in your life, make sure you're following along on socials. My handle is @MELDBusiness. And just in case you're wondering, the groovy music for this podcast was created by Just Here on SoundCloud. I'd also be super grateful if you took a moment to rate and review this podcast so more amazing women like you can experience the power of content. And if you're like, hell Mel, stop talking, I'm ready to work with you now, here's how we can work some powerful content magic together. Firstly, come and join the Content Effect, my membership inspiring women with service-based businesses to ditch the content chaos and start creating stand-out content that gets you noticed and makes sales. You can join us by using the link in the show notes or just Google the Content Effect. The second way we can work together is via my one-on-one packages. We can create a sustainable content strategy or start to build out your client journey. It's up to you. Hop on over to meldbusinessservices.com.au/services to find out more. Until next time, have a beautiful week and embrace the power of your content.